Hi, I'm Heidi Anderson. I'm the Titan implementation consultant that has been working with your district throughout their implementation process. Today we are going to be having a manager training on production records. During this training, you are going to learn how to plan your production records, how to fill them out, and how to deduct inventory. We'll go ahead and we'll start with a quick presentation. We'll go through our agenda, what we're going to be going through today, and then we'll give you a quick tour of Titan, and then we'll allow you to practice. To start our training today, we are going to go through a little presentation and let you guys know our agenda for the day and the things that we're going to be going over. So to start out with, we actually had a little bit of an announcement this spring. We are going to be rebranding Titan. We are going to go from all of our little companies, Titan included, to LINQ. So you're going to start seeing LINQ showing up more and more as you start using the system. So this is just so that you are aware as you start seeing that name pop up more and more. It's still Titan, same product. We just are rebranding and having a new name. So for today's agenda, we are first going to take a tour of Titan, kind of do an overview of the whole program, let you know where things are at so you know where they're located and what they're called. And then you're going to go through a production record training. This is where you're going to learn how to plan your production records, how to fill them out, and how to post and deduct inventory. And then once we get through that, then it will be your turn to practice logging into Titan for the first time, and then you will go ahead and practice production records on your own. So for Titan, when you come to Titan, there are two different web addresses that you will be dealing with. The first one is going to be this portal.titank12.com. This is our core platform where you will be working within Titan in the back of house. This is where you're going to manage items, you're going to look them up, you're going to create your production records, you're going to fill them out. This is also where you're going to run reports. The second web address that you are going to be working with is linkconnect.com. This is the platform for families and guardians and district staff members. This is where they can go and manage their lunch accounts, they can submit meal applications, and they can also check online menus. So as you have parents asking you for information, this is a great place for you to direct them. Next, you will be learning how to log into Titan. So when you do go to portal.titank12.com, when you log in, it is recommended that you do this through Google Chrome. You can do Microsoft Edge or Safari, but we have found that you have the best results and best luck with using Google Chrome. So if you run into issues, my suggestion would be first to go, make sure that you're in Google Chrome. It may resolve some issues if you switch. Here is where you will put your district number. So this district number will be provided by your district administration. You'll need to fill in that district number at least the first time that you log into Titan. Usually after that, it does remember that number, and all you would need to fill in at that point is your username and your password. Right now, Titan went through an update and the screen for logging in does look slightly different than this, and I'll show you that as we log in the next little section here. But your username is typically the email that was provided to us by your district administration. If your district administration has chosen to do a different username, they will let you know. They'll provide that information to you as well as your password. Typically, if it's the first time you are logging into Titan, your password will be Titan123 with an exclamation point, and it is case sensitive. If your district has decided to do a unique password, one that's unique to your district, they will also provide that to you so that you are able to log in using the information that they have decided on. Next, I want to go over LINQ Academy. Currently, it is still called Titan Academy, but it will soon be labeled LINQ Academy. So you can access LINQ Academy anytime. 24 hours a day. It's available to you year after year after year, and it's located in your profile, just under your profile in the upper right hand corner of Titan, and I'll show you where that's at in just a minute. But you can drop that down and enter into Titan or LINQ Academy. And what LINQ Academy is our library of tutorial videos for every module within Titan. They're short 2 to 5 minute videos that will allow you to search for specific subjects and watch a 2 to 5 minute video to see how you can work through all of the different parts of Titan. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to head to Titan and we'll take a tour and show you where everything is at. So here we have come to portal.titank12.com, and this is going to be your login screen for Titan. You notice here we have our district number. Again, this will be provided by your district administration. That will need to be filled in, as well as your username. Again, this should be your full email address, unless your district has decided to use a unique username. In that case, they will also let you know that information. Once you have filled in that district number and your username, you'll click Next, and this is where it's going to ask you for your password. You'll fill that information in and click Login. That's going to take you to your dashboard. Your dashboard may look slightly different than this one. We're going to be using my demo database for the remainder of this training, just so that you guys can see every part of the production record without it affecting things in your school's database. So just a little bit of a tour here. Up in the upper right hand corner should be your name as you log in. If you drop this down, it's going to open up your profile and some other options. If you do go to profile, this is where you're going to come to change your password. So down here you would click on the password tab, and this is where you're going to change your password to a unique password that's no longer that generic that your entire district has to log in for that first time. Once you put in that new password, confirm the password and click Save, it will update that new password for you. Also, under your profile is Titan Academy. Titan Academy is going to be your new best friend. This is how you can view all of those short 2 to 5 minute videos that are how-tos on everything within Titan. Once you click on Titan Academy, it's going to bring you to this home screen for Titan Academy. You are going to scroll down, and each of your different modules are going to have a section of videos. Right here are your point of service module resources. Down here are the resources and videos for inventory and purchasing. And if you go one more down to the gray cards, this is where you can watch and view all of the instructions for production records. So to get into this section, we're going to click on the card that says Production Records for Managers. This is going to take you to the screen where you can start viewing videos. Before you can start viewing them though, you will have a button over here that says Enroll Now. Once you click Enroll Now, it's going to ask you if you want to start learning now. If you click Start Learning Now, it's going to drop down this box here and provide a list of PDFs and videos for you to use to reference and learn as you go through this process. Anything that has an arrow pointing down to a line is a PDF that will allow you to download it, print it, whatever you need to do. Usually this is a checklist or it's a step-by-step guide for something within the module that you are currently working on. Anything with a play button is going to be a short 2 to 5 minute video that will have instructions on how to do whatever is in the title of the video. So it will only deal with this subject. So right here, this video is only going to walk you through how to plan production records. It doesn't go into anything else. This is in the hopes that it makes it easier for you guys to find what you need to view so that you can make sure that you're doing things correctly and you don't have to weed through a long training in order to find that information that you need. The other thing that you can do is you can search for subjects within the platform. If you come up here to the top where it says search content in platform, so just right up here, this is where you can come and type in a subject. So if we wanted to look up, let's see, if we wanted to look up everything about production records, you would type in production record and it's going to pull up everything that has a video or PDF that deals with production records. If you get very specific about something, it should pull up fewer videos and allow you to find the subject that you're looking for. If you have any questions about Titan Academy, let me know, or check with your district administration if you have questions, and either way we'll get you an answer to whatever questions you have. At this point, we are going to go ahead and head back to Titan. So we are back at the dashboard for Titan. Up here along the top, I just want to go over these icons so that you are aware of what they are. Next to your name is a conversation bubble. This is where Titan will send any communications to you that we believe are things that will be important for you to know right now. This is usually if service is slow or if something has happened with the POS and it's having a little bit of an issue. We'll let you know that as soon as we know about the problem so that you are aware and know that we are working towards solving whatever the issue is. When you have something that we are trying to communicate with you about, you will have a red circle with a number pop up here. If you see that, click into it and it's going to give you any information that we have that we're trying to communicate with you. Next to that is the notification bell. This is where all of your reports are going to go when they are ready to be viewed. As soon as you have a red bubble with a number in it pop up above the bell, that just indicates that you have a report or a job that is ready to be viewed. All reports will be under a job. You'll just click on the name of the report and it's going to bring it it'll open it up for you so that you can view that. Next to that is the shortcut button. Your shortcut may look different than the one on my screen here. Again, this is my demo database, so you may have additional options. As far as menu planning goes, you won't have a lot of shortcuts that you'll need to use with this, but if you have inventory or you have the POS module, you'll have a lot more options here that you can use as shortcuts. You can very quickly create an order or create an ordering guide. Again, with menu planning, you won't deal with the shortcuts as much, but if you have other modules, you may be using those more frequently. Next to that is our resource center. You can come here for announcements where we'll tell you what's new, resources for you. This is a great place to come, especially if you are in charge of marketing things to your school. This is a great place to come. Our release notes are sent out anytime that we have an update within the system. We'll let you know what things have changed and how it will affect you. If you have a green bubble up here with a number in it, this indicates that you have something that's either been updated or an announcement that you can view. So if you see a number up there, go ahead and check out what's new and available to you. Down here, we also have the Titan Help site. This is a great place to come for frequently asked questions. You can pop in here, have a lot of questions answered. If you don't have enough time to sort through videos, this is also a great place to come for quick question and answers. Over here on the left-hand side is where you are going to be working within Titan. For menu planning and for today's training, we are going to be dealing with the menu planning tab and the reports tab. You'll be dealing with some of the others as you go through other modules, but again, for production records, you'll only need to worry about menu planning and reports. So to start this process with our production records, we are going to be in Dashboard, Menu Planning, and you'll come down to Production Records. When you pull up this screen, you should see a list of all the production records that have been assigned to you. If you are over more than one building, you may see more than one building's production records listed here. If you are only assigned to one building and you see more than just the one building you're assigned to, please let your district administration know so that they can correct that on their end. When you are ready to work on your production records, you are going to enter into the serving session that you want to work within. As you look across here, this will have the building, it will have the name of the production record, and next to that is the serving session. Most districts that I work with usually put the name of the serving session in the name of the production record. If that isn't on your production records, that's just fine. You can always find that serving session over here under the serving session column. So we're going to work on lunch today. So to get into the production record, I'm going to come to the left-hand side and click on this pencil. Once I click on that pencil, this is going to take us into the calendar view of the production record. In the header, we have the name of your production record, and that's just noted for you there. Here you have copy production record. We'll go over this in a little bit and show you how that functions. You also have the serving session noted so that you know for sure that you're working in the correct serving session. It will also note the building that this production record is for. Over on the right, this is where it will note how many non-reimbursable meals were planned for this production record. On average, how many servings on average for the entire year. On average, how many servings do you serve per day? Again, this is a yearly average. If it's not what, it doesn't need to change every single day. This is a yearly daily average. It will also note the meal pattern and nutrient standard that were used to analyze this menu to make sure that they were compliant with USDA standards. Down below that, you have the toggle buttons. These two toggle buttons will allow you to move between the months forward and back. So if I click on the arrows, it will take me forward in months or back if I hit the back arrow, or I can drop this drop down and I can choose the month that I want to be working in, select that, and it's going to take me right to that month. Down below that is the body of the calendar. When we come to this calendar view, you are going to run into 4 different colors as you start working within the system. The first color is this gray inactive day. This just indicates that you have no menu that day. You don't need to worry about planning anything. This is typically a weekend or a day that school is not in session. So if you have a gray box, typically you don't need to worry about doing anything on that day. The second color that you'll run into is this red box. Red means that you're a little on the late side, something should have already been done. This box needs your immediate attention. Your goal is to have all of your boxes turn green. Green indicates that you've done everything that you need to do up to this point. You're good to go. You don't need to do anything else at this moment. Either that or you've gone through the entire process of start to finish with your production record and you've done everything that you need to do and you're good. The fourth color that you're going to run into is this orange color. This orange color is exactly 2 weeks in the future. This is what I want you to think of as your working zone. As long as you are planning in this orange zone, this is going to give you enough time to plan your production record, plan your menu. You are going to be able to create an order or a shopping list. You'll be able to place that order, receive those items into Titan, and then be ready to use those products on day of service. Titan really encourages everyone to plan 2 weeks in the future just so that you can deal with subs or shorts, because those always happen for some reason you can't get away from something happening. And if you're planning 2 weeks in the future, this gives you that really good opportunity to deal with the unforeseen things that happen. So now let's learn how to plan a production record. So for this demonstration, we are going to pretend that we are 2 weeks in the future. I'm going to go ahead and use September 11th as an example today. And I'm going to go ahead and click into this individual day, this individual production record. And to access that one day of production record, I'm going to click on the box with the date. So I'm going to click on September 11th, and that is going to bring me into the production record. Up here at the top, in the header, it does note the name of the production record, the serving session, and the building that this production record is assigned to. Up here at the top, we are in a draft status. So as you work with your production records, you're going to go through a natural life cycle of that production record. So to kind of make this make sense, I want you to think of an old-fashioned paper production record. So if somebody was to hand you that paper production record, the first thing that you would naturally do is look down and see what's on the menu. In Titan, that's considered a draft status. When you have a draft status, that means that you have gone into this day and Titan has pulled in all of the information that is on your production record based on a menu plan that your district office has created. Once you come in and view that, you are in a draft status. And let me pull this over really quick so that we can talk about the other kind of phases or statuses that your production record will go through. So here is a copy of what your production record calendar view looks like. So if we come here, this is telling us that we are in a draft status. Again, draft just means that you have looked at that production record. You know what's on the menu. So when we're thinking of that paper production record, you've looked to see what's on the menu. The next natural step is to sit down and plan this number of servings that you're going to need for that day of service. In Titan, that's considered a planned status. This, again, just indicates that you have gone through, you've put numbers in for the number of servings that you're planning to serve that day. At this point, this is kind of where if you had a paper production record, you would put that production record away in a filing cabinet and you wouldn't really deal with it again until day of service. This gives you enough time to create a shopping list, do your order, get those products in and receive them into Titan as well as your inventory and have them ready for day of service. So at this point, 2 weeks has gone by. We are now at day of service. You go all the way through mill service. Your production record has 10 different handwritings on it. It's messy. It's all filled out. At that point, you are going to take your numbers back to Titan, fill out a production record, and you will then be in a posted status. So that's that next natural step, is to be in a posted status. For you at your district, if you have the inventory module, you may need to go one step further and deduct your inventory. Once you deduct that inventory, you have gone through all of the steps or statuses that you can with a production record. You've gone from start to finish, and it is now complete. Once you have that inventory withdrawn, you are completely through that process. Your box will turn green and you've done everything that you need to do up to that point. So now we're back at Titan. We are on that single day of service on September 11th. If you want to move between the different days of the week, you don't have to keep going out to that calendar view. You can toggle between the different days of the week here by clicking on the day, and it will take you to that individual production record. This may save you a little bit of time as you start going through all of your different weeks. It allows you to plan a little bit quicker. If you need to go back out to your calendar view, you can come down to the bottom and click Close. This is going to take you back to that calendar view. If you notice on the 11th, we are now in a draft status because we have gone in and we have viewed that production record. I'm going to click back into September 11th, and we are going to start the process of planning this production record. The first thing that you will need to do, again, we are pretending this is 2 weeks in the future. So 2 weeks from today, I am going to go into my production record. The first thing that I'm going to do is click on the big blue pencil next to the name of the mill that I am working on. So I'm going to click on that big blue pencil, and this is going to start my forecasting. So Titan, after you go through this mill 3 times, it's going to start populating a suggested number of reimbursable mills. So to start this process, you need to tell Titan how many mills you are going to plan for this day of service. Those are going to be entered in here. How many reimbursable mills are you planning for this day? Non-reimbursable mills, typically you deal with this one on day of service, and so if you leave it at a 0, it will calculate correctly. You'll be able to add those non-reimbursable mills into your reimbursable planned mill numbers and just indicate those non-reimbursable mills on day of production. For reimbursable mills offered, you have a couple of different options. You can do this number the exact same as the reimbursable mills planned, or you can leave this blank until day of service and you know the exact number of mills that you are going to offer that day. I'm going to go ahead and leave mine at the 250 servings that Titan suggested. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. If I wanted to correct that a little bit, and I'm only going to plan for 240, I would put 240 in there and click Save. That's going to put that number here. And again, this is going to start that forecasting. Once I have filled out the big blue pencil, this is where I'm going to come down into the list of things that I am offering for the day. So we're going to talk about what all of these things are here. The first thing is this garbage can. This garbage can is going to give you the ability to customize what you are serving on your production record. If I come down, and I'm not going to serve applesauce cups because they didn't come in. I know I'm not going to be able to get them in 2 weeks. They aren't available. At that point, I can come in and I can delete this item off of my production record. This is going to be like it didn't exist. My parents aren't going to see that it was offered. Once that's deleted off of my production record, it will immediately update the online menu. Now I have no fruit on here and I need to offer one for the day. So I need to add that fruit in. So I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of this section, and I am going to search for an item in this select recipe box. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to type in peaches. See if it'll pull up here. There it comes. Okay, so I'm going to choose these diced peaches. That's what's available. That's what I can get this time as I am placing my order. This is what's going to be able to come in. So I'm going to click on the name of the item that I'm going to be substituting this with. So I'll click on diced peaches. That is going to pop that diced peaches up under the fruit category. Titan knows where it needs to go, so I'm going to go ahead and let that be popped into my fruit section. So now we're up here at the top again. We'll just kind of keep going through the line. This is your Titan identifier. This is your item identifier. So as you're searching through the system and you're searching for items, even down here, you can enter in that item number, and that will pull up that item. So if I type in 1002 and I'm looking for chocolate milk, I can scroll down here and there's my chocolate milk. So you can do name of the item or the item number. Either way will get you the results of whatever item you're looking for. Over here is the name of the item. This is going to give you the opportunity, this is actually a hyperlink, and it will give you the opportunity to view some things about this recipe or item. If I click on the name of the item or the recipe, that is going to take me into that item or recipe's general tab. You can't change or do anything in this section. This is just for you to view. So this is where you can come in and check ingredients in a recipe. If you click on the ingredients tab, it will show you what ingredients have been included in this recipe. It will also show you meal components, so it will tell you exactly what it credits for. It also has a nutrient analysis where you can come and quickly see how much a serving size, how many calories it has, how many total carbohydrate. You'll be able to view that information here. If you want to see the recipe, you can come into the recipe tab and it will have the information that you need. But if you're looking to run a recipe report so that you can read it easily, you can actually come up here to the upper right-hand corner and run this recipe report. It will ask you for a total yield. You can put whatever you want in here. It can be 1 sandwich or it can be 250 sandwiches. Whatever you want to run this specific recipe for, you can do that. So if we choose 350 sandwiches, we can request that report. Once we request that report, as soon as it's ready to be viewed, it's going to pop up here in the notification bell. Once that is ready to be viewed, you'll see that circle with the number pop up. That just indicates that this report is ready to be viewed. We are going to click on the bell, and under completed jobs, we can see recipe completed. We're going to click on the name of that report. It's going to download that to your computer and then allow you to select that. As soon as it's ready to be downloaded, it will pop up a recipe that can be printed or just viewed. It's going to show how many servings this specific recipe was run for. If you had run it for 200 sandwiches, it would have that it serves 200 sandwiches. It's however many servings you put in that yield, so it will scale it up or scale it down to whatever you need it to be. It will know any allergens that are included in this recipe, any dietary or religious restrictions if that's something that your district has entered in. If you have the inventory module, you will have a pick list. It's going to tell you exactly how many packages, cases, buns that you need to pull to create the number of servings that you have chosen. Below that are all of the ingredients and the instructions on what to do with each of those items or each of those ingredients. If you have a control measure or a temperature that needs to be tracked, it will be included in the instructions so that you know when that temperature needs to be tracked. I'll show you in a minute how you can track those on your production record. Down below that, you are going to have a summary of nutrients. So I'll show you in a little bit how you can customize this if you need to, but you do have this summary of nutrients. You also have your meal contribution. So you have your serving size and what it contributes to your meal pattern. So 1 serving is a sandwich and it contributes 3 meat alternate and 2 grain, so that you can easily see that information if you need it. Now that we've viewed that recipe, I just clicked on the tab and that brought me back to Titan, to that recipe screen that I was looking at. From this point, I can just click the back button on my browser and it will take me right back to my production record. So I'm just going to click that back button and it's going to take me back to the production record that I was working on. So here's that hyperlink that we just clicked on. Once we hit the back button, it's going to take us right back to that same production record we were working on. Next to that is where we are going to put our planned numbers for this item or this recipe. Mine already has a suggestion in there because I have served this 3 times and it's now creating a suggestion for me based on the last 3 times that this item was served. Titan actually looks at that historical data and comes up with an average that it thinks that you should prepare. This is not set in stone. You can change this to whatever you want it to be. And for this day, I think I'm going to need more than that. So I'm going to plan 200 chicken sandwiches. I'm not going to worry about my non-reimbursable at this point. I'm going to just deal with that on day of service. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go down to each of these items and I'm going to plan the numbers that I think I'm going to need for that day of service. Again, this is 2 weeks in the future. This is what I'm going to use to help me plan out what I need to shop for. So we'll just very quickly go through and put in all of our numbers. And let's do and let's see, and then we'll do 25 white milk. Down here at the bottom is a notes section. This is where you can put any information that you want to remember for a day of service when you come in here. So we're still at the planning phase, so maybe you have all of second grade going on a field trip and you need to make sure that you get notes out for your field trip, food selection, or any kind of note that you would normally put in a production record at the planning phase. This is how you would put that information in. You're just going to come here and add a new note, and you're going to type in anything that you want to remember about, this production record, this day of service. You'll click save, and that's going to pop that note in down here. It's also going to time and date stamp that, as well as having the person that put that note in there. At this point, once you're happy with your numbers for the planning phase, you are going to scroll down to the bottom and you'll click plan. This is going to open up additional columns that didn't exist before. These are things you're going to need on day of service. And it's also going to put you into a planned status. So when we're thinking in terms of that paper production record, this is kind of where you'd put that paper production record away in your filing cabinet, and you're not going to really deal with it again until day of service. So in the meantime, you will probably need to run a shopping list, figure out what you need to order. So Titan actually has a way for you to run a great report as long as you have the inventory module that can help you with planning for that shopping. So to access that, we are going to be over here on the left-hand side under Dashboard, and then we are going to come down here to Reports. So we'll click on Reports. That's going to drop that down, and then we are going to come to Menu Planning. So we're going to select this tab here, which is Menu Planning. We'll drop that down, and we are going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and we are going to click on Shopping List Data. This is going to be a report that you can run that will have all of the suggestions of what you need to order for this day of service. So we're going to click on Shopping List Data. And essentially what we're doing is creating a spreadsheet. So we need to just give it a little bit of information so that it can create this list for you. So I'm going to put in a date range. I'm going to drop this down and select a date range that I'm going to be shopping for. Typically, districts that I work with usually shop for a full week. So I'm going to select the full week, and I'm going to do the 11th through the 15th. So I can do any date range that I want to here, and it'll look at everything that I have planned during that date range, and it will provide a shopping list for me. You shouldn't need to narrow down by building unless you have multiple buildings that you're assigned to. In that case, drop that down and select the building that you want to run this specific shopping list report for. I'm going to leave the serving sessions and menu plans blank so that it pulls from all serving sessions and all of the menu plans so that I have everything that I need for breakfast, lunch, snack, supper. All of those things will be combined into one list. As you get more familiar with this report, you can drop these tabs or sections down and play with these filters as you become more comfortable with this report. You can also, when you're comfortable, kind of play with this receiving from Again, I just run this how it is until you're comfortable with it. Down here in the columns, this is where we start creating that spreadsheet. We're going to tell Titan the columns that we want to have show up. Here is a list of the default that will come with this report as you come in here. If you want to add additional columns, you can come over here to available columns and you can click on the plus sign to add that to your columns. So if I wanted to include quantity on order, I would click that plus sign, and that is going to add it to the bottom of my list. If there's something on here that as I'm running this report that I just really don't need that information because it's, it doesn't apply to you, or you just don't need that information, you can come in here and you can click on the garbage can and delete that off. Once you get your columns in there, again, as you start out, I would just leave it exactly as it is until you're comfortable with it. You're going to come down to the bottom and you're going to request that report. Once you request that, it's going to pop up in the notification bell as soon as that is ready to be viewed. Once that number pops up in the red circle, you're going to click on the bell, and again, you're going to click on the name of the report. That will download. Click on it when it's ready to be viewed, and this is what's going to come up on your shopping list. It's going to look at everything that you have planned. It's going to give you the item identifier, so it's going to tell you this is the Titan number. That's how you can search for it. That's how you can find it. It will also give you the item name. It's going to tell you what this is called in Titan. Next to that, it's going to tell you how many you have on hand. So currently, I have 2.81 5-pound bags. Next to that, it will have the quantity required. According to what I have planned on my production record, I need at least 1 case and 1.5 5-pound bags. It will tell me how many I'm short, so I'm short this many 5-pound bags. It will tell me the vendor that I need to order from. So with this one, I need to order from this vendor. This is that vendor identifier. This is what I need to put into their system if I'm ordering by hand from a vendor. It will tell me the quantity. It will also give you the quantity that you need to order. So this is the suggestion. This is how many Titan thinks you need to order in order to pull off what you have planned. It should give you a cost per unit and then a total. So here we have the cherry tomatoes are $1.95 per each or per pint, and 11 should cost an anticipated cost of $21.45. If this is incorrect, if your district has given you permissions, you can change this amount when it is received into your system, and as you go through the inventory module, you'll learn how to do that. Once I have all of this information, I can take this back to my vendor, back to Titan, place this order, those items will come in, and we can now continue the process of filling out your production record. I'm going to go ahead and close this report, and we're going to go back to Titan. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to collapse my reports tab, and I'm going to come back to dashboard. So at this point, 2 weeks has gone by. I've shopped, my items are here, I've received them into Titan, I'm ready to go. I'm ready for meal service. So day of service, 2 weeks has gone by. We are now on September 11th. I am going to come into my dashboard, and I'm going to come to menu planning, and I'm going to come to production records. Again, I'm going to choose the serving session that I'm working on, and I'm going to come in and choose September 11th because we are at day of service. It is September 11th. I'm going to click on that day. It will take me into that day view. So at this point, there are a couple of things that you'll need to do. The first one is to come in and finish filling out the forecasting. So we need to complete the information in this big blue pencil. So I'm going to click on that big blue pencil, and I'm going to fill out the reimbursable meals offered. If you have a lunch count that comes in and you have, maybe the stomach flu is going around and you have nearly an entire class gone because everybody's just sick. Maybe you're only going to be doing 220 mils because you don't need to prep as many because you have kids out. Maybe you get to this day and the kids have ordered way more than you expected, so you're actually going to offer 250 mils. Even though you only planned for 240, you're going to go ahead and bump that number up and serve 250. This is up to you and your district, how specific you want to be on this one. Again, you can leave these as the same number, or you can put them, in as exactly what you offered so that you have a more accurate forecasting as you go through this process. Completely up to you. Either way is great. Play with it. See how you like it. Once you have that number in there, you're going to click Save, and that will pop that number here, and it will start using that in the forecasting. At this point in the morning, again, this is day of service, you are going to come up to the upper right-hand corner and you are going to run a couple of reports. The first one is this recipes report. When we click on the recipe report, this is going to run a report that has every recipe on this day of service that you are going to need. You won't have to go hunt for those recipes. They will be provided for you as long as you run that recipe report. I'm going to click on that in the notification bell, and it's going to pull up that recipe. Again, it has the number of servings that you planned for this day. So the next time you run this report, it may be different because you've planned a different amount of servings. This is going to be just what you have planned for that day of service. It will list any allergies. Our veggies don't have any, so there aren't any listed. It will have a pick list for you, so it's going to tell you that you need 4 or 5 pound bags of carrots, etc. for your pick list. As long as your district has the inventory module, it will give you that pick list. Down below that, it will tell you the ingredients that you need and the instructions on what you need to do with that item. Down below that, as we talked about before, it has that summary of nutrients and that meal contribution. I'm going to go ahead and close this recipe. If you have any questions on the recipes that you pull on that day of service, if something isn't showing up, let your district administration know. They can do some things in the background and have that be a part of that report if something isn't showing up. I'm going to go ahead and come up here and I'm going to close this report. And it's going to take me back to Titan. So I'm back on September 11th on that production record, and we are going to run the second report that you are going to need to run every day in the morning, and that is this production worksheet. We're going to click on that hyperlink, and it's going to start running that report. We're going to wait for it to show up in the notification bell as soon as it's ready to be viewed. Once that bubble with the number pops up, we're going to click on the bell, click on the name of the report, and this is going to pull up what I like to consider the ugly copy of the production record. This is the one that sits on the counter, has 10 different handwritings on it, it gets crumpled, stained, it's been through everything that happened during meal service. It's ugly by the time meal service is over. Down here, it is going to note how many meals were originally planned for this day. Down here, it's going to have each of the items that are on your production record. It will have the serving size listed in the parentheses. So here it says sandwich. Down here it says half cup. So just pay attention to that as you are going through this process. It will let you know what the serving size is. Next to that, in our planned column, the first one is reimbursable. This is going to tell you how many reimbursable meals were originally planned for this day of service. Next to that is the servings prepared column. This is where you are going to put what you actually did on this day of service. So if you have this PB&J bundle pack, right here we have servings prepared. We originally planned for 50, but case of PB&Js comes in 72. I'm not just going to pull 50 sandwiches out and just prep 50. If I open a case, I'm going to prep all 50. So, or all 72, excuse me, all 72 of those servings. So here in that servings prepared box, this is where I'm going to come in and I'm going to write down 72 because that's how many I actually prepared for this day of service. Next to that is the served column. Most of my districts fill out skip the reimbursable column. So you'll skip this part and let Titan do some math for you. But you need to make sure that you're filling out the non-reimbursable. So any second meals, any adults, you'll need to put that number here so that it is noted on your production record when you go back to fill out that copy in just a minute. Next to that is the discarded and leftover columns. In Titan, these are two different functions and they need to be tracked separately. You could have something in both columns. If you had a student that dropped a PB&J, you would put that drop tray under discarded. And then all of the other PB&Js would go into the leftover because they can be used, the next day during meal service. Those can be left over and put back into inventory. So you could potentially have something in both of these columns. The last column here is the temperature. This is where you're going to track any temperatures that are noted in the comments section. You can track as many temperatures as you want. All of those temperatures can be taken back to Titan and tracked, and I'll show you how that will pop up on your final copy of the production record. Once we have all of our information filled out, meal service is over, we've counted everything, we've discarded what needs to be discarded, we've put away what needs to be put back into our stock, we are now ready to come back to Titan and fill out the pretty copy of the production record. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this button here and click on the X, and I'm going to come back to Titan. So this is where we're going to complete the process of taking all of that information that's jotted down and we're going to put it into the system so that it can be stored and tracked for future reference, future purpose. And we're going to come down here and we're going to go back through this row. Now that we have some additional icons that have showed up, I want to talk about each of them and let you know what they do. The first one, again, is that garbage can. And at any point that you have a substitution or you just didn't serve something, you can always hit that garbage can and it will allow you to delete that item off and allow you to replace it with what you actually served for the day. The next icon is this notebook. This notebook will, when you hover over it, will tell you what you originally planned for that day of service. That's the number of servings that you planned. You notice that same number is lightly grayed out here. Our goal is to write over the top of this number. So Titan always wants you to be able to look back and see what you had originally planned. This is the number that is pulled up on your production worksheet. So if you get to day of service and you need this number to be different, you can click on the notebook and you can change how many reimbursable meals you're planning on that day and click update. So if we actually did 205, we can click update and that's going to change that lightly grayed out number. Again, our goal is to write over the top of that lightly grayed out number. So if you need that to be different, you have to do that through the notebook. The next icon is, let me scroll down here a little bit, right here. So this is our file box. This is going to let you know what you have on hand as far as inventory goes. So right now, Titan thinks that I have 3 cases on hand. I've ordered 20, and that should give me a total of 23 that are available to use by the time that comes into my, that order comes into my system. So if you ever need to know what you have on hand, hover over that file box and it will give you that information. The last icon is this thermometer. This is where you're going to track temperatures within Titan. If I click on this thermometer, it's going to bring up this Add Temperature box. This is where I'm going to choose the control measure. So this time, maybe I was temping my chicken. So I need to choose that 165. And maybe I took that temperature and it was 157 at, let's see, 10. Let's do 10:25 in the morning. I'm going to click Save. If that temperature is not compliant, it's not at the correct temperature, it is going to bring up this corrective action. Yours will be unique to your district. It may be a little different than what you're seeing here, but it's just going to tell you what you need to do to correct that temperature that's out of compliance. If you have our temperature capture module or our mobile temperatures, and you are using the thermopens, this corrective action will pop up immediately if you have a temperature that is out of compliance, and it will let you know immediately what you need to do to correct that. If you are entering these in after meal service, go ahead and just click OK. So maybe you put that chicken back in the oven for another 5-6 minutes, you pull it back out, you temp it again, you track that temperature, and you can enter that second temperature into Titan. We can come back to that thermometer. We're going to choose the same control measure, and we're going to tell it what that temperature was the second time that we took that. And maybe it got to 172 at 10, let's do 10:30, we'll just do 10:30 a.m. So we let it sit in there for another 5 minutes. It got up to 172. We'll click Save. It now just says temperature saved because our temperature was in compliance. You can come in and track as many as you want. If you have multiple temperatures that need to be tracked, those will show up. I don't think I've got, nope. So if you also needed to do a hot holding on anything, you may have multiple control measures pop up. So if I had this cook 165 for at least 15 seconds, and then I also had a second temperature of hot holding, I can track both of those temperatures. So just by selecting each of those different control measures, it allows you to track those different temperatures. I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel. You still have your item identifier there. You also have the hyperlink that will take you to that item or that recipe's general tab. Right here is where we're going to put what actually happened during meal service. So maybe here I really did make all 205 chicken sandwiches. And then maybe I had 3 adults come through and eat the chicken sandwich. They took the chicken sandwich that day. And maybe I had a student that came through and took a second meal. So I actually had 4 non-reimbursable meals. Here, maybe I don't keep my chicken sandwiches for the next day. I throw them away. So I'm going to go ahead and put that I discarded maybe 15 servings. As you start filling out this information, once you put a number in here, it opens these columns up so that you can put that information in there. When you start putting numbers in these columns, Titan is going to start doing some math for you. You notice this reimbursable served stays grayed out. You can't come in and edit or change this box. The reason is that Titan is doing some math for you in the background. It's actually taking this number here, this planned offered, so that number that you put in, this is how many I put out on the line, and it's subtracting the non-reimbursable, the discard, and any leftover to come up with a total of students that ate this item. So this is how many reimbursable meals were served to students. Down here, if we come to our PB&J, this is where we said we made all 72. So I'm going to go ahead and put 72 in there. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do this discard. We threw 1 away and the rest of them were all left over. Maybe I had 27 left over. Not too big of a deal. I'm going to use those again the next day. Titan's actually going to do some additional math for you. It is going to take and start adding these reimbursable served numbers for you, and those are going to actually pop up here at the top. This total entrees served. This is going to be what your production record is telling Titan you served for the day. Over here on the right-hand side, if you have our POS module, it's going to pull that information immediately in from the POS system. So as you have students and teachers and staff come through and eat, you should be able to see those numbers populating here, and those numbers should be pretty close. Of course, sometimes things happen, you miscount, maybe you had more left over than you thought, and so you had fewer students come through your line than it actually shows on your total entrees served. This gives you a really good opportunity day of to kind of find those discrepancies and see what happened and get those numbers as close as you possibly can. It's just that double check, make sure that everything went the way that it was supposed to during meal service. If it's really off, maybe you need to look back and see if students were not clerked in or if something was miscounted. It just gives you that opportunity to double check things before you're a month down the road and having to remember what happened a month ago and you just can't remember. So just make sure that you're checking that just to see if you need to make some adjustments. So we're going to come down here and we're just going to go ahead and finish filling in this information. We'll go ahead and we'll just fill out some numbers here. Maybe here I really did 225 and I had 22 left over, not too big of a deal. I can serve them the next day. My chocolate milk. So with milk, you have a couple of options. You can put exactly what you served, put out on the line and you served for the day. That's great. If you put 120 out, that's fantastic. For me, maybe my milk comes in crates of 50. I'm not going to put out 120 and count that out. I'm going to go ahead and just put 150 out. So I put out 3 cases. And then maybe at the end of the day, I had 15 left over. My strawberry milk, I'm not going to break a case apart, so I'm going to go ahead and put a full 100 out. And then I have maybe 22 left over. Down here, my white milk, I'm not just going to pull apart one crate. I'm going to go ahead and put the whole thing out. So I'm going to go ahead and put 50. And then maybe I have 45 left over. This allows you to keep track of the original number that was available in your milk cooler. If that's something that your state requires you to track, this is one way that you can do that. And then by adding in those leftovers, you have a beginning of service number and then you have an end of service number so that you have an accurate inventory, and hopefully that'll make things easier if that's something that your state is needing you to track. Once you have all of your information in here, all of your numbers look good, you're happy with them, this is how everything went during meal service, you are going to come down and you are going to hit the post button. So we're going to click on post, and that's going to gray out all of these columns. So you can no longer come in and edit or change these once this is in a posted status. If you look down this list and you realize something is off, you need to change a number, at this point you can change it. You can come down on the left-hand side and you can click Unpost Production Record. This is going to open all of those columns back up. Maybe you come in here, something was really off. You didn't really have 45 left over, maybe you only had 40 left over. You make any adjustments or changes. You can come down and add a new note. If you've changed something, I highly recommend, making notes on anything that was subbed or changed during meal service. And you can add those notes by clicking Add New Note. This is where you can come in and put accommodated student 11817 with soy milk, or substituted applesauce with peaches because peaches weren't available. All of those notes that you would normally put at the bottom of a production record, still come in and add those notes. If there's something that you want to remember about this day of service in a week, a month, a year, put that information in here so that it's available as you start looking back at the history of what happened that day. One thing to remember about notes is that they are permanent. You cannot come in and change spelling. You can't edit anything. You can't delete them. Once they are in there and saved, they are permanent. So I like to say this is a great place for facts, but a terrible place for opinions. Make sure that whatever you're putting in those notes is something that you want somebody else to see. At this point, after any corrections have been made, any updates or changes are all in there, you're going to come down and you're going to click Post again. Again, this is going to gray out our columns so that they can't be changed or edited. If your district doesn't have the inventory module, this is your last step. You would be completely through the process at Posted, and your box on the menu on the production record calendar view would turn green. For you that have inventory that need to be deducted, the inventory that needs to be deducted, you need to do one additional step. You can only do this step after you are in a posted status. So to deduct your inventory, you are going to come down and you are going to click on the pencil icon that has now appeared. You notice most of our icons are gone and this pencil has now shown up. You will always have access to the notebook that you can hover over and see what you originally planned, so that information is always there for you. So when we need to deduct inventory, we're going to come into each item and we're going to click on the pencil and we're going to update our quantity. Maybe here we really did 205 chicken patties, but on our hamburger buns, maybe not every student takes hamburger buns, so maybe here we only put out 200. Our cheese, not every student takes cheese, so maybe I only used 4 5-pound packages. And that unit of measure, whatever that inventory is being deducted by, is noted here in the parentheses so that you know what you're deducting. Down here on my fresh lettuce, I didn't use 48.56 heads of lettuce. I think there's something wrong in my inventory. I definitely need to check that one out. Maybe I only used 3 heads of lettuce, and that's all that my students took. That's all that they needed. Once I have all of these changes made, I'm going to come down and click Update. And then I'm going to move on to the next item on my production record. I'm going to click into my pencil. And this is how any of your variety recipes will show up. So a lot of you guys will see cereal varieties, juice varieties that will allow you to put in exactly what you used. So here I have grape PB&J and I have strawberry PB&J, but I opened up 1 case of strawberry and I didn't use any grape at all. So I don't want any of my grape removed from my inventory. So I'm going to come over here on the left and I'm going to click the delete button. That's going to take that completely out of the inventory possibilities. And maybe down here, I didn't use graham cracker Scooby-Doos or Scooby-Doo graham crackers because I didn't have any in stock. I had to sub them out with goldfish. So I'm going to search for goldfish down here in my search bar. I'm going to click on the name of the item that I substituted with. Then I'm going to come up here and delete my graham cracker off completely. So now I need to fill in the quantities. I prepared all 72 strawberry peanut butter and jellies Uncrustables. But maybe my string cheese, not every student takes them, so maybe I only put out 60. And then my goldfish crackers, I only put 65 out because again, not every student takes the goldfish crackers. So I'm going to put in this quantity exactly what I put out on the line so that my numbers can be deducted from inventory correctly. Once I have all of that information in there, if you have a leftover, you need to make sure that you are choosing a storage location to put those back into your inventory. When you drop that down, it will give you all of the storage locations that are available to you in your building. Choose the most appropriate one and pop that into that storage location. Next time you have this as a leftover, Titan is going to remember where you want that stored at. But the first time that you have a leftover, it has no idea where you want it stored, so you need to tell it where it needs to go. At this point, once I have all of that information filled out, I'm going to click Update and move on to the next item. In my veggie medley, I'm going to come in here and maybe I didn't use 3.5 5-pound bags. I really only used 3. And my fresh cherry tomatoes, I really used 125 pints. And maybe I really did use 3 3/4 of a pack of 5-pound bags of baby carrots. I'll choose my storage location and click Update. I'll do the same thing with my baby carrots. I didn't really use 2.81. I used 3 5-pound bags. Storage location is already selected. If not, drop that down, choose where it's going to go, and click Update. Anytime that you have a number 10 can, you need to make sure that you're coming into this and doing that inventory. So I'm going to click into my pencil, and this says that I used 8.62 cans of peaches. But as you know, a lot of times number 10 cans go a lot further than you think they will when you plan. You plan for 24 servings, but a lot of times you can squeak out more servings than that. So we need to tell Titan exactly how many number 10 cans were used during meal service. And maybe these went really far and I really only used 8 number 10 cans and the rest was just additional. I didn't drain off the juice. It went really far that day. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the number of number 10 cans that I actually used and choose that storage location, and I'm going to click Update. Milk typically goes very quickly. It's the number of, the quantity that you put out stays the same. Just click Update. Again, strawberry should just have that 100, so you should be good. Click Update. And my white milk, again, that's a pretty easy one. Make sure that you've got that storage location selected. Make sure that quantity is correct. Click Update. At this point, I'm happy with my numbers. So for you, double, triple check your numbers. This is really important that you make sure that you've got all of that inventory in there correct and how you want it to be deducted from your inventory. Once you are finished filling everything out, we are going to come down and we are going to deduct our inventory. This is like Post-it note important. Once you click Deduct Inventory, this is the point of no return. After you click that, you cannot access your production record. It is locked and you cannot change or edit anything. So make sure that you have double, triple checked that inventory and everything else on your production record for accuracy, just to make sure that everything is okay before you hit Deduct Inventory. If you make a mistake, you do have the option to go in and adjust your inventory through adjustments or physical counts, but you can't do it through the production record. The reason is because Titan is taking a snapshot of where your inventory is at the moment that you deducted this inventory. The reason that it takes that snapshot and locks everything up is if you were able to go back 3 weeks in the past and change the inventory on a single day of service, it's going to be that snowball into an avalanche effect. By the time you hit 3 weeks in the future, your inventory is so messed up because it affected so many different things that you would never be able to have an accurate inventory. So to prevent that from happening, once you hit Deduct Inventory, it locks this production record up and it's no longer able to be edited. So once you are comfortable with your numbers, you are going to come in and you're going to click Deduct Inventory. Once that is withdrawn, you'll have that inventory withdrawn, a little thing pop up letting you know that you are now in an inventory withdrawn status. So at this point, you have gone through all of the statuses. You've gone through the full life cycle of that production record. So when we come back to the production record screen calendar view, and we can get there by one of two ways. We can either follow this breadcrumb along the top of the light gray box, and we can come to this production record that's in that breadcrumb. And if we click on that, it's going to allow us to go back to that calendar view. So if we scroll down to September 11th, you notice it's now green. We've done everything that we need to do up to this point. We've gone through the whole process of start to finish with our production record. So we are now green and good to go. We've done everything that we can. So at this point, I do want to take you back into this day of service. So I'm going to click back on September 11th. We have everything filled out, but I would like to show you one last report on this screen that you can run. So up here in the upper right-hand corner, we are going to run your production record. This is the final copy of your production record. It is available to run at any time after you are out of draft status. Personally, I like to wait until my inventory has been withdrawn before I run this report because it adds some additional information after that deduction has happened. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to click production record. That will pop up in the notification bell as soon as it's ready. As soon as it's ready to be viewed, that will show up with that red circle with the number in it. I'm going to click on that job and download that. And this is your new production record. At the top, you do have the name of the building that this production record is for. You have the serving session as well as the date that this production record is for. You also have your temperatures. This is your critical control points that were tracked within this production record. You have the abbreviation and what that abbreviation stands for. Down here, you have the number of meals planned. This is pulled from the Big Blue Pencil. Both meals planned and meals offered are pulled from the Big Blue Pencil. If these are blank, that just means that Big Blue Pencil wasn't filled out. Meals sold is pulled from the POS. It will break this down by reimbursable, non-reimbursable student, and non-reimbursable non-student. So each of those, if you have the POS module, will populate there for you. The entrees served is pulled from your production record. This is how many entrees you told Titan you served that day. It will break that down into reimbursable and non-reimbursable. And then we have our fruits and vegetables served. This is tallying all of the fruits and vegetables that were offered for the day on your production record and coming up with a total that were served for the day. As long as this number is higher than this number, chances are that you had every tray go through as a reimbursable meal. This information can also be found at the top of the production record. I'm going to click back to my Titan. And that number can also be found up here at the top. So this is where it's pulling that number from, that 523. As long as that is more than your total entrees served, you also have that double check there immediately that you know you've had enough fruits and vegetables offered, that every tray probably went through with a reimbursable meal on it. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my production record, and we are going to come down here and talk about a few things down here. So here we've got USDA compliant. If it's green with a check mark, that means that your menu for this day was in compliance with USDA regulations. If you forgot to put the bun out with the chicken sandwich, that may throw that out of compliance, and you may end up with a red check mark, or a red X with USDA compliant, indicating that this was not a compliant day. Down here, you will have each item on your production record listed So here we've got the name of the recipe and the serving size. So we've got that serving size of sandwich in the parentheses. So if it's a half cup, that half cup will be noted. Below that are all of the ingredients that you would have needed to pull off the number of planned chicken sandwiches. So it should have all of the ingredients that should have been pulled for this item. Down here is where all of your temperatures that you tracked within Titan are going to be tracked and reported on down here. So here we've got this 165 and we only got up to 157. This is what it was supposed to be, but we only got up to 157. It's in red because it was out of compliance. That was at 10:25 a.m. We went ahead and put that back in the oven for a few minutes. We pulled it back out, we temped it again. It got up to 172. Once it is a compliant temperature, it will be noted in green with the time and date stamp. So you've got both out of compliance and in compliance. It will track as many temperatures as you need to, and it will have all of those on your production record. Next to that is where your components will be shown. So we know that this chicken sandwich contributed 3 meat alternate and 2 grain. Next to that is your planned column. So this is how many servings you originally planned on your production record. This is how many you ended up offering. And then it has how many you served. You served 186 reimbursable and 4 non-reimbursable. The discard and leftover are noted separately. Here, after you have, if you have the inventory module, you will have a theoretical cost. This is pulling information from the purchasing tab within the item. This actual cost is pulled from the most recent item receipt. It will have that updated cost. So if you have an item that comes in that was more or less expensive than it typically is, it will be reflected in this actual cost. So you might have some of these that have different amounts. So right here are PB&J according to our purchasing tab was 82 cents. And when it came in, it only cost us 4 cents. So just make sure that you're keeping up on those accurate prices on your item receipts if that is something your district wants you to track. Check with them. They will let you know for sure if that's something that you need to be changing on those item receipts. At this point, if you come down, this is going to, go through everything on your production record. Again, noting those serving sizes and ingredients that were pulled. And then down here, it's going to have who posted that production record, time and date stamped, as well as have any notes. So there's our notes section. Again, those notes are permanent, so they will stay with this production record forever. If you have any questions on your final copy of the production record, get a hold of me, let me know, or let your district administration know, and they'll help you with any questions that you have. At this point, I'm going to close this. So I'm going to click on the X, and that's going to take me back to Titan. So at this point, we have gone through the entire process of production records. Your district may want you to keep that production worksheet. Check with them, see if that's something that they want you to keep on hand and file. A lot of the districts that I work with choose not to print the production record out and instead allow Titan to house that information for them. Check with your district administration on how they want you to handle printing and filing paperwork and documentation so that you know what you will be keeping. At this point, we are going to collapse menu planning over here on the left-hand side, and we are now going to go through some reports that should come in handy as you start working with production records. So we are going to click on Reports and drop that down. We're going to come down to Menu Planning. We'll drop that down again, and we are going to go over Menu Calendar first. This is just a calendar for a specific date range. This is great to hang up in your cafeteria if this is something that you want to be able to view what's on your menu. You're going to come in here to Filter, You can filter by menu plan, building, or date range. I'm going to select my building if I have more than one building. If you've only got one, it should just default to the building that you are assigned to. And then I'm going to select my date range. If I want to select a specific menu plan, I can. So this is just going to run my lunch menu for this building. And I'm going to choose the date range of September 1st through the 30th because I want to see that full date range. Report display, if you drop that down, you can include weekends or not. And then the format gives you some additional options. You can change the paper format from letter legal or CR80. This has to do with our POS system, so you probably won't ever need to do that on this one. This is the one report within Titan that I like to change the orientation. Play with this and see which version you like better. But we can come down here and select portrait. And then you can include the header, include the footer, and include the filter if you want to. If you want to have more rows pop up on one page, go ahead and don't include the footer or the filter, and it will allow you to put more weeks per page. I'm going to go ahead and request that report, and it will pop up in the notification bell. And this is what that report is going to look like. It's just going to have all of your days of the week, everything that you're offering on your menu. Any days that are missing will be blank. And then down here at the bottom, this is where that filters section comes in. This is going to remind you how you ran any report within Titan. It's going to tell you exactly how you ran it. In the buildings field, you filled this report out for this elementary. In the date range box, you chose this date range. In the menu plan box, you chose this menu plan. Titan will always remind you exactly how you produced this report. These are the selections that you made, and up here at the top, it will always tell you the name of the report. So this is the menu calendar report. So if you ever question how you can reproduce a report, look at the top, find the name of it, go to the filters section, and see exactly how you ran that report. I'm going to go ahead and close that, and I'm going to come back to Titan, and we are going to still be under the reports and menu planning, and we are going to come down and look at your recipe nutrient report. This is a great one for nurses or for parents that have students that have dietary restrictions, or if they have like a diabetic student that needs a carb count. You can actually come in here and you can run this report by specific recipe. So you can just search for a recipe here and it will produce this for just that recipe. Or we can come over here to menu plans, and this is going to allow us to run this report for multiple days worth of menu plan or a production record. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select that lunch menu that we were working on. Then I'm going to select the date range, and I'm going to go ahead and select kind of a big date range here just because I'm not sure what I've got in there. My report display, if I drop this down, this is going to allow me to customize what nutrients are showing up on this report. So maybe I have a parent that really doesn't care about saturated fat or sodium. They care a lot about the carbohydrates, and maybe they want to add sugars. So I'm going to drop this down and I'm going to find sugars, click on sugars, and it's going to add that to the list of nutrients that I want displayed. Then I'm going to come down here and request that report and wait for that to pop up in the notification bell. We'll click on that as soon as it's ready. And this is the report that will pull up for you. It will have everything that is in your production record or menu plan listed in alphabetical order. The nice thing about this report is that it will have how many calories, total carbohydrate, and sugars for this item. The other thing that it will do is it will take any recipe that has multiple ingredients and break it down by ingredient. So here with our cheeseburger, if I have a student that comes in and all they want to take is the hamburger bun and the hamburger patty, or maybe they want the hamburger and just the cheese, they're going to know to dose for 1 carbohydrate for the hamburger patty and 4 for that American cheese. So they know to dose for 5 carbohydrate instead of dosing for 34.5 carbohydrates. So it allows your nurses or parents to really customize that insulin that's being dosed for those kids that have diabetes. This can be used in a lot of different ways, but this is a great one for those diabetic students. Again, you can customize it to whatever nutrients you need to have pull up. If you have questions with this report, let your district office know or let me know, and we're happy to walk you through how to do this and how to customize that. Now we're back to Titan, and we're going to go through another couple of reports for you just to show you where they are at. So we are still in reports, in menu planning, and we can come down here to production record. So if we click on production record, this is going to allow us to print or run multiple production records for an entire date range. Titan will have you choose a building. Even if you are assigned to just one building, you will need to drop that down and choose the building that you're assigned to. And then it will also ask you to choose a date range. So you would drop this date range down. So you'd click on this button and select the date range that you want to run the production records for. If you wanted to, at the end of the month, view all of your production records before everything gets submitted, you could run this for an entire month's date range if you wanted to. This is going to allow you to view all of those production records in one document, checking for any mistakes or anything that needs to be changed or updated. It's a great way to go through, make sure all of the notes have been made. Check with your district if this is something that they want you to do. They can let you know that. If you're just curious, that's another great time to do this. Once you get this information in here, you would come down and you would click Request Report, and that will run all of those production records for you. It does take a little bit of time to run this amount of data, so we're going to go ahead and let you guys play with that on your own. So as you're playing, run those production records for a date range and see, what that looks like as you start going through things. The next report that I want you to be aware of is this production worksheet. So we are going to come over here on the left-hand side and click on production worksheet. This one will force you to choose a building. It will also force you to choose the plan that you want to produce these for. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that same lunch that we've been working on. It will also force you to do a date range. You will need to have production records in planned status in order for this report to work. So if I come in here, I'm going to choose a large date range because I'm not sure what I've got in there to produce this report. And then I'm going to come down here and click Request Report. This is going to run a document that has, or a PDF that has multiple days worth of production worksheets. So if you want to run an entire week's worth of production worksheets all in one go, you can do that. This is probably going to produce just a little bit. So yep, just one page here. That's all I've got planned. Yours should be quite a bit longer on that week or month, whatever you're running this for. That date range will have multiple production worksheets for you. And again, this is the ugly copy of the production record. This is the one that sits on the counter, gets crumpled, stained, has coffee sat on it, all the things that happen during lunch. This is what sits in the middle of it. This is where everybody's going to fill out this information. So if you want these on hand for your workers, go ahead and run this on a weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever your district allows you to do. Go ahead and run this for multiple days and you can have those ready to go. The next report that I want to show you is the production record usage. So we're going to come here to production record usage, and you may or may not use this report. This is a lot of information. You can come in and play with this as you start using your system more and more. This is just a report that will show you how your items are performing. So for this demonstration, we're going to select just a few things, but as you get more comfortable with this report, go ahead and come back in and play with this until you figure out how you want to use it. So we're going to come into our production record usage, and we are going to select a date range. So I'm going to go ahead and run this just for the day that we were working on, just so that it pulls up quicker. If you want to run this by a specific recipe category, you can drop that down, choose main entree, and this is going to show you just what your main entrees did. How did they perform? Maybe you want to do a year's date range with just a main entree to see how your main entrees did through the year. And then we're going to come down and we're going to run that report. Again, as you get comfortable with this, play with all of the different options and see what works best for you. We're going to click on that report, and this is what's going to pull up for you. Right here, you've got your item identifier. That's the item number within Titan. You have the name of the item, and this is, everything that was on that menu planner production record, the production record in alphabetical order, and it's going to go through and tell you how many reimbursable meals were planned, how many non-reimbursable meals were planned during that date range. It's going to have how many were actually offered. It's going to have how many reimbursable were served, non-reimbursable if you've noted that, and how many total that is together. So here we had 186 reimbursable, 4 non-reimbursable for a total of 190. It will give you a cost of your served. And then you have this discard and leftover columns. And this will give you a lot of information about your items and how they're performing. It will tell you how many were discarded. So here we threw away 15 servings of chicken sandwiches. That cost us $10.83. That's how much we threw away. And it will also give us a percentage. So of the total that we had, we threw away about 7%. This is a great way to kind of see if your items aren't doing very well. So if we scroll down here, well, actually right here, we've got this leftover here. And on our baby carrots, we had 60% left over. Maybe in your district that's too high of a number. You don't want that many left over. This may be a really good time to look at this and look at things that maybe you can cut back on for to have less waste. Maybe down here we've got this leftover of 80%. That is really, really high. But if we look across here, that was for milk. It doesn't really matter that we had 80% left over because that can just be put back into our inventory and used the next day. So as you're looking at this, make sure you're paying attention to what kind of item that is before you decide if that is an acceptable percentage or not. But this, again, this report has a ton of information. You really may not use this if it's not something that you have to run. This is for those of you guys that are really interested in keeping control of how much waste there is, or cutting back so that you're only prepping enough that you're not having that additional leftover or discard. The other way that you can use this is if you have multiple days, months in a row that you have 0% discarded and 0% leftover. This is a great time to look at this and see an opportunity to sell more items, sell more entrees. If you're running out of food every single day, that is a good indicator that you can actually go in, prepare more food, and sell more items. So that's another great way to use this report. Again, you may not end up using this report very often. It's more of that deep dive, but just wanted to let you know that it is available if it's something that you're interested in viewing. Okay, at this point, we are going to come back to Titan. We'll collapse our menu planning, we'll collapse our report, and we'll go back to dashboard. So you have now seen production records from start to finish. You've seen a handful of reports that you can use, play with your reports and see what, see what information is in there, what's going to work for you. The last thing that I want to talk to you about today is LINQ Connect. So I'm going to come up here to LINQ Connect, and this one is your public online menu. To view your online menu, you are going to go to linkconnect.com. That is going to bring you to our LINQ Connect homepage. So when you type in linkconnect.com, this is the page that's going to come up. If you need to select your online menu, you are going to come to this Check District Menus. You're then going to search for your building within this search for a district. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to search for my district. This is for my demo database. In yours, you will search for your district's name. Once you put that in there, it should pop up with a suggestion. Again, this is going to be for your district, so your district name will pop up there. Once that pops up, this is going to give you a lot of options that you can go through. Up here at the top, you do have the ability to select between different schools. If you drop this down, it will have a list of any of the schools within your district that you can choose to see what they have on their menu for the day. This is driven from your production record. So if you at your building have changed something on your production record, that will only be shown at your building. It won't affect the rest of the district. It won't affect at the administrative level. It will just be at your building. So your online menu is unique to your building. Next to that, we have the ability to filter by allergens. If your district has chosen to mark them, you can also do dietary and religious restrictions. And this is just a filtering system within Titan for your online menu. If I drop this allergens down and I choose peanuts, I'm going to click on peanuts, and then I'm going to come down here into my calendar, into my menu, and anything that has that allergen present is going to gray that out and put a line through it. That's going to let your families know that they can't have that item. The other way that you can use that filtering system is to come to our print button. So if you come over here and click on the print button, this is going to give you the chance to print out your online menu. So if we scroll down here, it's got all of our information. If you have selected an allergen, you can select those through here, or if you've already put that into your filtered search, that will pull over. But it's going to note in red any item or recipe that has that allergen in it. You can also drop your nutrients down. So if you need to know how many carbohydrate are in each item, you can click on total carbohydrate. And that is going to pop that information in below each item of of how many carbohydrates are in each of those. So this has 32 carbs for the PB&J bundle pack. Tater tots have 16 grams of carbohydrates. So that should be, if they can print that, hang that on their fridge, and it can have all of that information in there that they need. You can select multiple nutrients. So if you wanted to select total carbohydrate and calories, it would put both of those in under each item. So your families can put as much information in there as they need. They can print this off and have it available for them. I'm going to click the X, and that's going to take us back to our calendar. You can toggle through the different months here. So if I go forward, that's going to take me to the next month. I'm going to toggle back. come back to the current month. If I want to change the calendar mode, I can drop this down and I can do this weekly, so it's only going to show a week at a time. Or I can choose to display that on a monthly basis. Over here, if I have multiple lunch menus, I could click on this and it would show me the different menu plans that were available just for lunch. If I have breakfast and lunch on my production records, if I have a production record for both breakfast and lunch, those serving sessions will be here. This one only has lunch, but if I had breakfast as well, breakfast would be here and lunch would be just beside it. I can toggle between the two different serving sessions and see what's on the menu for each of those different serving sessions. Now that you've seen the process of filling out a production record from start to finish, now it's time for you to practice. Your district administration should let you know the date range that they want you to practice production records in. This will not be today's date. We don't want you to go in and plan and post and deduct inventory on a production record for today, because that will affect your inventory. You won't be able to go in and change things. Once that deduct inventory button has been clicked, again, you cannot go in and change anything. So make sure you're not practicing on today's production record. Your district administration, again, will let you know what date range they want you to practice in. Just touch bases with them, find out what that is, and then at that point you can come back to this screen and you can pause and you can follow the instructions here. On the left-hand side, this is going to have how you navigate to the production record. Here in the blue, it's Dashboard, Menu Planning, Production Records, and then you can come down here and follow the instructions to navigate to that production record. On the right-hand side is a step-by-step guide to planning and posting production records. You can follow each of these steps to practice filling out that production record. Because you will be practicing on a future production record, you will not be able to go past step number 8. Step number 8 is where you would click Post. It will not allow you to post a future production record, and that's okay. You can go ahead and practice up to that point. You will not be able to practice deducting inventory, because once you click that deduct inventory button, you can no longer change or edit that production record. So go ahead and just practice up to the point where you would post that production record, just so that you can get an idea of how it's going to function. Make sure that you're getting all of those steps in, and it will hopefully make this a little more comfortable when you start using those production records on a daily basis. And then as you go through that process of practicing, let either me or your district administrators know if you have any questions or concerns that come up, and we'll be happy to help you with whatever you need. Thank you for attending this training session today, and let me know if there is anything that you need going forward. Thank you.